Happy Tuesday, Dolphins fans. Welcome to the Miami Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. I am Nic Rohloff, where we have a pretty eventful Tuesday afternoon in the 305, and really it's been a pretty eventful 48 hours for the Fins. They signed a quarterback, Tyler Huntley, off of the Ravens practice squad on Monday morning, and they did not make it official until about 40 minutes ago when they officially placed Tua Tagovailoa on injured reserve, which will hold him out for, at very minimum, 4 weeks. Week 3 against the Seahawks, Week 4 against the Titans, Week 5 against the Patriots. Week 6 bye does not count towards that 4 weeks, by the way. So Week 7 against the Colts will be the last mandatory game he misses, making him eligible to return to the Fins Week 8 at home against the Arizona Cardinals. Appreciate every single person for already joining the live show, commenting, and already getting a super chat from Joel Bowman. Shout out to you. But that is the big news on today's live show. We'll talk a lot about that in depth coming up in just a second, as well as some other news and rumors surrounding the Fins. ESPN suggested a trade for Russell Wilson. We'll talk about that, as well as 5 players that need to step up in the absence of Tua Tagovailoa. But either way, shout out to Joel Bowman with a $5 super chat. Hashtag Dolphins. Do you think Malik Washington will be able to play this week with Grant DeBose looking terrible and Chosen gone? This is actually a good point from Joel, by the way, because it is actually another piece of news that came out about 15, 20 minutes ago that Robbie Chosen, the wide receiver who was on the Dolphins practice squad, he was elevated for the first 2 games of the season against the Bills and the Jaguars, has been released from the practice squad. So he is gone, so no more Robbie Chosen. I'll answer this quickly. We'll also feature this in our mailbag, Joel, but I do think he might be able to play, because if they placed him on IR, he would have been out 4 weeks. They did not place him on IR, which means they probably believed he was going to come back in week 3 or 4. So I do think it's possible he is on the football field this upcoming Sunday against the Seattle Seahawks. 150 people watching. Shout out your city for me down in the comments section. Appreciate every single person tuning in on this Tuesday afternoon. I see Corey, I see Logan, the Cat Slayer, Z Cash, Kristen Reinhardt. Shout out to the legend. We got Chad Jones, even more of a legend. Shout out to Chad in Virginia. Walters in the chat. Stetson, James Mitchell, Tim, Maurice. Chad's watching from Virginia. Maurice is in Geneva. Shout out to all of you. And actually, we're going to do something as well. We got our football a little bit early. Week 3. MVP, Dolphins, Seahawks for our watch party this upcoming Sunday. If you send in a $5 super chat or more on this live show, we're going to put your name on the ball early this week, because I want to give some other people some love, and I want to shout out the real ones that tuned in on our Tuesday live show. So if you send in a $5 super chat or more, we're going to get you on the ball to start this week off right. So we're starting off with Joel Bowman on the ball. Shout out to Joel Bowman. And my terrible, terrible handwriting. Shout out to Joel Bowman. Appreciate you, man. Shout out to you. All right, we'll give some shout outs here before we progress longer in this little pre-show portion. Mark S., Joe Bo. Matt Farms is watching in Geneva. Gray in Land Lakes, Florida. Kristen in the Bay Area. Atlanta from Stetson. I see Lauren in the UK. Join says Bryce Young to the Dolphins. Listen, I'm actually not that, I actually am a supporter of Bryce Young potentially going to the Dolphins. So I think it'll happen. No, but I wouldn't hate it. I'll say that right now. Jordan in Buffalo, enemy territory. Cat Slayer lives in Boca Raton. Shout out to the Costco guys. Devontae's in the 305. Isaac, we don't have a raffle item today. We only do those type of things on game days. This is our weekly live show. Miles is in Oklahoma. Isaac is watching from Alabama. Stavros is in New Mexico. Shout out to you. We see a lot of real ones down in the chat. And before we progress here in our build-up portion of our show, we are sponsored by Game Time, and I have to give a shout-out to them. The best way to get your tickets, and you can get $20 off your first purchase, whether you're going to a Dolphins game, a Heat game coming up in a little bit. There's still some Marlins games left, not that you'd want to go to that maybe. But either way, you want to go to any local event in your area, whether it be a concert, comedy show, or a sporting event, use Game Time. $20 off your first purchase when you download the app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS. It's only the first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create an account and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Shout out to Game Time for sponsoring today's episode of Dolphins Today. And we're also sponsored by Prize Picks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app. You don't have to play other people. You play the numbers and the numbers only. Pick 2 or more player stat projections, and you could potentially win up to 100 times your money depending on how you customize your entry across football, basketball, baseball, hockey. They got it all. Join Prize Picks today and get $50 instantly when you play $5 after creating an account, downloading the app, and using code CLNS. $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win when you play the $5. It's guaranteed. Shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's live stream. All right, we got a $5 super chat from Chad Jones. Shout out to Chad. This will also be featured on our mailbag, and the legend gets on the MVP ball for Week 3. Appreciate Chad Jones. Hopefully those two Week 1 and Week 2 MVP balls, Chad, get to you relatively soon. You're just collecting those things like Thanos and the Infinity Stones. Said sit Tua for the season. Sorry, but he is dangerously playing with his future as a parent. Chad, I agree with you. I actually do. I know you're not the biggest Tua fan and believe that there are better quarterbacks out there for the Miami Dolphins, but I said this, and I was very open about this. I think it's ultimately up to Tua. It's Tagovailoa's decision what to do with his future. But I just know that if I was in his shoes, I've already suffered 3 concussions in the National Football League, 2 of them being bad enough to where you at least have involuntary movement in your extremities for maybe just a split second. But it happened. The fencing position a couple years ago against the Bengals on Thursday Night Football, and it briefly happened this past Thursday against the Bills. I would have personally retired. But it's not my career. It's not my life. And Tua ultimately wants to return to this football team. He's a competitor. He's a warrior. And he is going to potentially return as early as Week 8 against the Arizona Cardinals. Couple things here. One, we got to welcome in our guy, Cullen Brown, into the skybox here. He's producing today's show. But I also want to ask you if you believe the Dolphins should trade for a quarterback, whether it be Bryce Young, whether it be a Russell Wilson type. Should the Dolphins add another quarterback for the next 4 or 5 weeks, even though Skylar Thompson and Tyler Huntley are on the active roster? Let me know your thoughts. What's up, Cullen?
How we doing?
Good. How are you doing, Cullen? This was a late addition to the Dolphins Today live show, but glad you can be here, Cullen. What do you think the Dolphins should do? Should they stick it out or to go out and get a quarterback again?
I'm always of the opinion that you give your players the best chance to win every given Sunday. So I also think it's hard whenever you kind of have that tanking mentality to flip that switch if you're a franchise. So listen, if opportunity is out there, and again, you know, how good of a quarterback could you get? Could it be a Bryce Young? Could it be a Jameis Winston? I'm just throwing names out here, but you got to always have to weigh your risk and rewards. But personally for me, Skylar Thompson, he is what he is. At this point in his career, I think he's a fine backup. Maybe can give you a spot start here and there. But as you mentioned, Tua Tagovailoa, 4 games, he's not going to be here. I don't know if I can trust Skylar Thompson to produce at the level that this team needs for those next 4 games. I would personally go get a quarterback.
Yeah, and that's kind of what my reasoning on this as well. I've been very open about this. I don't hate Skylar Thompson, the player. I don't hate Skylar Thompson, the person. But I just don't believe that he is a quarterback that I can feel confident going out there every Sunday and to go give you a win. And now, I do believe that over the next 4 games that Tua will miss guaranteed of Seattle, Tennessee, New England, and Indianapolis. This Dolphins roster is talented enough to go 2-2 in that stretch, which would set you up for a 3-3 record. And then if you beat the Cardinals in Week 8, you would then be 4-3, and you would at least have a winning record going into the harder part of your schedule, which is probably, I wouldn't say best case scenario, but what we can hope for as Dolphins fans to see this team at when Tua potentially returns and is fully healthy. But like I see Chad Jones saying, it's not guaranteed he comes back after 4 games. It is 5 weeks since the injury, so maybe that gives him enough time to get fully recovered, but that's not a guarantee whatsoever. And I do believe that the Dolphins should go out and inquire about a quarterback via trade. Listen, Bryce Young might be cooked. I'm out on Russell Wilson. I don't know what other options out there is. I obviously am a big proponent of doing Ryan Tannehill, but Ryan Tannehill also wants to be a starter for the rest of the season, not just come in for 4 or 5 weeks and then get put back to the bench. So Tannehill might be out of the equation, which is a little bit of a disappointment if you ask me.
But, I mean, to Chad's point, that's even more of a reason why you go get a QB. Because, I mean, at this point, you're not in a position to tank, right? I mean, you have Tyreek Hill. You have Jalen Waddle.
This roster's win now, baby.
Win now. So I personally love the Bryce Young kind of potential. I mean, you get him under his rookie deal. Now, granted, you'd have to fix some things with the cap and everything, kind of finagle some things. But you have potentially, including this season, 4 more years of control because of the 5th-year option if you want to pick it up. So
yeah, correct.
I mean,
this is the 5th year.
Right.
For Tua. So he's got 4 after this year.
No, I'm saying for Bryce. If you were to
for
acquire.
Bryce Young, you're saying. Excuse me, my bad.
My apologies. So, I mean, it's just, see what he has. He, at Alabama, was a distributor of the football, if nothing else. You surrounded him with talent. He was able to get the ball in space. He was able to play make if necessary. Again, he's a smaller guy. Hasn't really translated to the NFL so far, but, we've seen guys go from Carolina and succeed elsewhere. Baker Mayfield's succeeding now in Tampa. Sam Darnold's succeeding in Minnesota. I'm not saying Bryce would have that level of success, but a new environment could help him out. So I'd kick the tires on if I were the Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I said this on our video yesterday breaking down the Tyler Huntley signing. What you need in a Mike McDaniel offense is decisiveness, accuracy, and the ability to process the field quickly, understand what you're seeing, and then knowing where to go with the football. That doesn't scream Skylar Thompson, does not scream Tyler Huntley. And although Bryce Young has really struggled through his first 18 games of his career, what did he have as his calling card as a QB prospect out of Alabama? Decisiveness, able to process, and accuracy. So we'll see. We'll see. Douglas wants to trade Cullen to Carolina.
I mean, hey, you know what? Yeah. That would be interesting. I mean, Carolina, there's nothing in there. You had a take in the office. Do you want to tell the Dolphins?
I said it on this morning's show, Cullen. Remember?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right.
They said Bryce Young has a 8.9 QBR through 2 games of the NFL season. 8.9. ESPN's QBR is grade out of 100. 8.9. I said that, and I don't know if I really believe this, but I said if you threw me out there to play quarterback for the Carolina Panthers, I would have a better than an 8.9 QBR.
I'm just saying.
He has 3 interceptions, no touchdowns, and 245 yards while completing 55% of his passes through 2 weeks of football. You're telling me if I go out there and say, hey, boot 42, Deontay, 10-yard fade, Thielen, crosser, and I take the snap and throw a nice little back shoulder to Deontay Johnson one-on-one coverage, and I do that 3 straight times, that he wouldn't catch one of them? I find that hard to believe. Come on, baby. Let me get out there. Let me cook. I'm not going to say I have the strongest arm. I might have a stronger arm than Mac Jones, though. I might have that. And I know we talked about adding Mac. I've seen Mac. I can throw a football pretty decently. Now, all jokes, every NFL quarterback can throw it 65 yards easy. And I'm pretty sure nobody's sprinting at them. You're just at the park. They could all yuck at 65 yards. But I can get to 50. I think I can get to 50. I haven't tested it in a while. I was a pitcher back in high school. I know it's different throwing motions, but I got to get an arm. I got a good arm. Yeah.
I mean, it'd be interesting. Honestly, can you make a pass without having to jump to make
that I can. I said this in the office.
Yeah.
Bryce Young's 5'10". I'm 6'2". That is a 4-inch difference at quarterback for the Panthers if you put me in there over Bryce Young. I'm back in the pocket. I'm surveying the field. I'm not going to have to go like this, jump up and throw it when I'm checking it down. I'll be able to just stand in there and be like, okay, cool. Just throwing out there. All fun and games here at Dolphins Today. A lot of fun. Shout out to Finn's Football Podcast from the 585. Rochester, baby. Let's go. I should have played high school quarterback. I got shadow banned because I'm a bigger person. They put me on the offensive line. But we do have a football game this week against the Seattle Seahawks. Who you got? Obviously, as we've talked about quite a bit, no Tua Tagovailoa. Still have to see about if Teron Armstead's going to play. But who do you got? Dolphins or Seahawks? Be honest with me. Because if you say the Seahawks are going to win, I don't have any problems with that. I haven't given my official prediction yet. I haven't thought about it. I got to see the injury report, see if Teron Armstead's playing when that all comes out tomorrow. But listen, I have no problem saying the Dolphins will lose if that's what I believe. I need to see more pieces of the puzzle to see who's going to be playing, who's not going to be playing. But the Seahawks are an okay team. They're 2-0. I say okay because they beat the Broncos and they beat the Patriots, and they didn't look good doing it on either of those two teams, and those two teams are both bottom 5 in football. So it's like, how good actually are the Seahawks if they're barely scraping by Denver and New England? So I will say this. The early line for this game is 5.5, 6. I can promise you this. I do think the Dolphins will cover the 6 points. If the line stays there, I think they will cover the 6 points. Will they win the game outright? I don't know. Tough cross-country flight to Seattle. Positive news, though, you've had a week and a half to prepare for this game, schematically at least, because you played Thursday, so you get a little extra time. That goes into your favor as well. We got Aaron saying Miami, Chad saying Seattle, LJC Miami, Seattle from EH, Michael Miami, Mr. Wolfsage toss-up. I'm kind of with you right now. Finn says Miami, Devontae Miami, Armando Miami. Ralphie says Seattle. I'll tell you what, if the Dolphins are able to go on the road and win this game, Cullen, the vibes around this football team will be very high because you will be 2-1 after 3 weeks. You would have won your first game without Tua, and then your next 3 games are against teams that project to be bad. Tennessee, good defense, but their offense is horrid. New England, same thing. And then Indianapolis, their defense is terrible, and their offenses might be even worse. The Colts have allowed 471 rushing yards through the first 2 weeks of the NFL season. That is incredibly difficult to do. 471. Yeah. So even without Tua, I think you'll be able to run the football and move the football a little bit there with your running game and weapons. So.
And I know DeForest Buckner's banged up, but I mean.
Yeah, he's out 4 weeks. He actually just was placed on IR. So the best Colts defensive player and their best run stopper, DeForest Buckner, will not be in that game against the Miami Dolphins. Yeah. It'll be the last game he misses because unless they have an early bye too. But he's guaranteed to miss week 7, week 3, week 4, week 5. Fuck, no,
Colts,
it's not.
So the Colts have the Bears this week. They have the Steelers,
Bye.
the Jags,
Bye.
and then the Titans.
Fuck. That means DeForest Buckner might be back. Sorry for cussing.
But no, I mean, you kind of nailed it on the head. I mean, if they win this game, right, it's kind of like almost like emotional kind of rally.
Yeah, big time. Do it for Tua. Win for Tua.
Do it for Tua, exactly. And I'll just say this. Will Levis stinks.
He does.
Like him and Skylar Thompson, like you could look at them pretty eye to eye.
Honestly, I think they might be on the same tier.
Like it's not great. So you win this game, you go and beat Will Levis. Then you got the Patriots again. They're a respectable team, but I mean, again, you were picked, for the most part ahead of the season to be better than them going forward. And then you got the Colts, which again, they may be getting DeForest Buckner back. That defense is still kind of like picking itself
bad, man.
So, I mean. Just kind of get the first one. You can only take it one day, one game at a time, and this game is the current one on the schedule. You just got to come out with a good game plan, and like you said, Mike McDaniel having extra prep, that might be the biggest thing to cover that 6.5 points.
Yeah, it's big time. That's big time for sure. Well, if you want the Dolphins to win this week, hit that thumbs up icon. We have 170 people watching, 62 likes. Let's get to close to 100 likes. Let's get to 100 likes. I'm not so sure why Sam, this is the one graphic he built, had as a Seahawks logo. You want to switch that to Miami real quick? I mean, I know it's players step up against the Seahawks, but yeah. NFL Therapy asking, do I think Huntley will start the Titans game? I have a take loading on that, and we're going to talk about it in our first segment here. But hit that thumbs up icon. Let's get close to 100 likes. We're at 65. We're going to start the show at 75 likes. We'll start the show at 75 likes, so we need 10 people to hit that thumbs up icon, and we'll get into our first segment today. Come on, help us out. Let's get today's show started because we have a good show on tap here. First segment, Miami Dolphins news and rumors. Tua Tagovailoa, Robbie Chosen, Russell Wilson, and some others as well. Tyler Huntley. We have a live Q&A that we're going to answer your questions. So use hashtag Dolphins or a super chat to get on the show. And then lastly, 5 Dolphins players that need to step up over the next 3 to 4 weeks for Miami to stay afloat and to win football games. That is what's coming up. We're 1 like away. There we go. We got it. We're at 75. And before we start the segment, one more update. We do this every week. MVP of each week. We have had 2 MVPs. Actually, 1 MVP through 2 weeks. Chad Jones was week 1 MVP. And week 2 MVP, who's going to be week 3 MVP against the Seahawks? And if you send us a $5 super chat, we'll get your name on the MVP ball that we're officially going to be seeing who is the MVP on Sunday in our watch party. With enough being said, let's get into our first segment of the day. Tua Tagovailoa has officially been placed on injured reserve by the Miami Dolphins. That news came in right before our Tuesday live show, so if you missed that, make sure you are subscribed. But this is very important for the Miami Dolphins as it gives us a little bit more of a timetable for Tua. Now, they have not come out and said that he's going to specifically be returning after his IR stint, but you have to imagine it will be somewhere in that realm. And when you are placed on IR, as long as it's not season-ending IR, which it's not, it's already been out and said that, he will miss 4 games at minimum. And the reason why I say 4 games and not 4 weeks is because the Dolphins have an early bye week in week 6, which means he will miss week 3, miss week 4, week 5, Week 6 doesn't count because of the bye week, and then Week 7 will be that final 4th game against the Indianapolis Colts, which puts him at the earliest able to return Week 8 against the Arizona Cardinals. And I believe this is the smartest move Miami could make because, one, I think it's more, even if he could return in 3 weeks. Let's just say he could have returned in 3 weeks. I think it's just better to just put it away and say, like, you know what, we'll give you extra time. We don't have to be asked questions about Tua's status and availability every single week leading up to the game, which could just create a ruckus inside the locker room. No, now everyone knows, the media knows, that he will be at earliest able to return in Week 8. So you won't be asked those questions for the next 4 games against the Seahawks, Titans, Patriots, and Colts. So it just puts that in the back of everyone's mind. It allows Tua to get 5 weeks of full recovery potentially, and then he could return for that home game against the Arizona Cardinals in Week 8. And let's hope the Dolphins can stay afloat in these next 4 games because Seahawks, I think, are not as good as the 2-0 record says. Then the Titans are not looking like a good team. The Patriots don't have that good of a squad. And then the Colts look very, very bad as well. So I think it's very possible for the Dolphins to continue to win football games, even with Skylar Thompson or Tyler Huntley at quarterback. One more piece of news before we move on. Robbie Chosen has been released off the Dolphins practice squad. So the wide receiver who has really struggled over the past couple of games after being practice squad elevations on game day is off the roster. All right, let's transition now to ESPN overreaction because they put out an article after week 2 and they said as an overreaction that Miami should look to trade for Russell Wilson. And if you don't know, Russ obviously got released by the Denver Broncos after signing that massive contract after being dealt by Seattle and then signed with the Steelers. Well, he has not played in the first 2 weeks due to injury, and Justin Fields has that team 2-0 and looking pretty good and potentially might be 3-0 as they play the Chargers this week. Well, if that's the case, they might just stick with Justin Fields as a starter, which would probably push Russell Wilson to requesting a trade due to the fact he signed with the Steelers to be a starter, not a backup. And with Tua out 4 weeks and 4 games, ESPN suggested that maybe Russell Wilson would be a better option for Miami at quarterback over Skylar Thompson and Tyler Huntley. And although I do not disagree with that statement, there is no argument here from me that Russell Wilson is a better quarterback than Skylar Thompson and Tyler Huntley. That's just a fact in the matter. But I think I would stay away from Russell Wilson because of the way he is as a player. I don't think he fits in this locker room. I don't think he is that good of a veteran presence. With everything you heard about how he acted at the end of his Seattle days, the couple years he was in Denver, that feels like a person that I don't want in this Dolphins locker room. And for that reason, I might be out on Russell Wilson. And I don't even want to deal with trading for him. If you wanted to go trade for a quarterback to start in the next 3 weeks, because if you trade for anyone, they're not going to be ready to play against Seattle this Sunday. So if you made a deal, it would be for the Tennessee, New England, and Indianapolis game, unless you believe Tua is going to be out longer than the 4 weeks minimum or 4 games required. And I don't know if I'd want Russell Wilson for that role because he wouldn't want to be backing up Tua once he returns. So to me, I don't know if this makes a lot of sense. I think there are better options out there to potentially go trade for. But let me ask you this question. Drop your thoughts. Should the Dolphins trade for Russell Wilson? This is today's pinned comment, so if you get hit by a YouTube ad break, they come up around this time. Let it play, scroll down, and answer today's pinned question. Should the Dolphins trade for Russ? Type Y for yes or type N for no. If you could not tell, I am very much out on Russell Wilson. For the same reasons I just mentioned a couple seconds ago about his personality, his leadership qualities. I just don't think he is the right type of guy to lead this Dolphins football team. He is better than Thompson and Huntley. There is no debating that. But I just do not want the Dolphins to bring him in because I think it will create more controversy and chaos around this football team than it will bring good, which is why I am out on him coming to the 305. And ESPN actually agreed with me, by the way. They put it as an overreaction, and then the verdict they did is like, should it happen? Should it not happen? If it should happen, it's not an overreaction. If it shouldn't, it's an overreaction. They said it is an overreaction, which means they don't even believe Miami should do this. So it really does feel like some kind of bogus thing that was thrown out there from ESPN about the Dolphins trading for Russell Wilson. They just thought it was an opinion piece. I saw it. I read it. I know some Dolphins fans at home are going to read it and see it, and I wanted to let all y'all know what my thoughts were on the matter. Which, if we're not trading for Russell Wilson, and we did a Bryce Young episode earlier today, by the way. If you didn't watch it, go watch it. That means the Dolphins are left with two players on their active roster in terms of quarterbacks. Tyler Huntley, who you signed off the Ravens practice squad, and I know he's wearing a Browns jersey, but that's who he was with before being released after the preseason, and then Skylar Thompson. Those are your two active quarterbacks on the 53-man roster after Tua is placed on IR. You also have Tim Boyle on your practice squad still right now, but Tim Boyle's so bad, dude. I am not even entertaining that thought. So it really is Skylar and Tyler Huntley over the next couple of weeks while Tua is away. And to kind of put a bow on this situation revolving Russell Wilson, I am out on Russ. But I will say Huntley and Skylar Thompson don't inspire the most confidence. I'm still not going to trade for Russell Wilson. But I just wanted on the record that Tyler Huntley and Skylar Thompson don't give me the most confidence for the Dolphins to go win football games. So still go to add another quarterback if you feel like you need to. Probably would be on the table if I was Chris Grier. But hey, if I was Chris Grier, this offensive line wouldn't be as bad as it is right now as well. So there's obviously a clear difference in thoughts and opinions between us Dolphins fans, me, and GM Chris Grier, because I would have addressed offensive line more in the NFL draft and in NFL free agency. More to come here in just a second, but we do have to give a shout out to our sponsor, which is Game Time. And if you want to go see the Dolphins in action at home the next time they return to Hard Rock on Monday Night Football against the Titans, make sure you use Game Time. Or if you just want to go to a different event, comedy show, concert, theater, Game Time will have it all for you no matter what area you are in. And they have a really dope feature called Game Time Picks, which allows you to get tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. It filters out the fluff to only show you incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. It also has all-in pricing. It's my favorite feature that Game Time has because it allows you to see the total price of the ticket up front rather than at checkout, so you don't get blindsided by fees when you think it's $60 a ticket and you're like, oh, shoot, it's actually $120. Nah, that absolutely stinks, and I don't want to deal with that. Use Game Time. It's the app that I use. It's the app that everybody here at Chat Sports uses because it's simply the easiest and it's the best to get you the lowest price guaranteed. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Appreciate them for sponsoring today's episode. All right, here is my thoughts on where the Dolphins quarterback situation is going. Skylar Thompson, without a question, is starting week 3 against the Seattle Seahawks. You just simply don't have enough time to get Tyler Huntley ready for this game on Sunday, even if you wanted to. And I believe that Tyler Huntley is the better quarterback. All jokes aside, but he was actually a Pro Bowler. Like, you see the photo on screen right now. He is wearing Pro Bowl gear. Now, granted, it was because half the quarterbacks declined and got injured. It was also when Mac Jones was a Pro Bowler. This is an absolute disaster. But either way, I think Huntley starts in week 4 because I believe Skylar Thompson will struggle a little bit in this game against Seattle. They have a really good secondary over in the Legion of Boom Part 2, maybe? I don't know. But they got Devon Witherspoon, Tariq Rowland. They do actually have a really good secondary over there, all jokes aside. And when Skylar Thompson might look like a really below bad quarterback, I think Huntley might get the start in week 4 at home against the Titans because you will now have a full 2 weeks for him to get up to the speed on the playbook. And be able to get rapport and chemistry with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And there's no debating Tyler Huntley is the better quarterback through the air, definitely on the ground, and could ultimately lead to bigger plays and more dynamic of an offense while Tua's out for at minimum 4 games. But I will say this in terms of the Dolphins offense, and the reason why I believe Tyler Huntley might become the starter after this week against Seattle. If the Dolphins offense wants to succeed over the next 4 games, they are going to have to transition from an air-it-out offense with Tua, Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle and a run-first offense, leaning more on Devon Achane, leaning on Raheem Mostert when he returns from injury. I think that's very important that those two really become the leading charges of this Dolphins offense and the engines. Devon Achane has already been the best Dolphins position player through the first 2 weeks, having 100 total purpose yards in each of the 2 games and where they score in each of the first 2 games as well. And because of Tyler Huntley's ability to run the football and how dynamic he is with his legs, you can start to really script up intriguing run packages where you have both Huntley, Mostert, Achane all together in the backfield. And I'm not saying go to a high school triple option offense here, but you can incorporate that a lot just to add a different look. You can throw it at defenses. And then when the defense really commits a lot into the box to stop Achane, Huntley, and Mostert running the football, you know what you can do? A little play action. Oh, and guess what? You have 2 of the fastest wide receivers in all football, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. If they get left one-on-one, they can burn you deep. So to me, starting a run-first offense with Tyler Huntley and then being able to use that and leverage that into play-action deep balls to Hill and Waddle, the best wide receiver doing football, is how the Dolphins offense can survive and stabilize for the defense to do their job over the next 4 football games against subpar teams. We'll close out the show here in just a second, but make sure you are subscribed to the channel. 289 subs this week so far. Shout out to all of you guys. 301 for the Seahawks channel. We got to beat them on the field this week. We got to beat them on the YouTube streets. We're trailing by 12, but I appreciate everyone who's joined the channel this week. It's been a busy week. Keep locking us in. Locking us in. There we go. Finally got it to the channel. And I do want to point out one more time, with the Week 3 matchup against the Seattle Seahawks, their strength is a secondary, man. Like I mentioned, Devon Witherspoon, Tariq Woolen. They've got a couple good safeties over there as well. Julian Love, who had a big-time play against the Patriots, basically turned that game around by blocking their field goal with, what was it, I think 3.5 minutes left, which prohibited New England to go up 6, only went up 3, and then the Seahawks drove down the field and tied it up to send the game in OT, where they ultimately won. If they had to score a touchdown, maybe that changes. So their secondary is their best aspect. They lost Jordan Brooks. He's on our team now. They do have Jerome Baker, member, the former Dolphins linebacker, is now over there. So I think they are more vulnerable in the running department, which is why I would still like to see Tyler Huntley in this game, but it's just practically not possible after being signed on Monday morning for him to be ready for the Sunday game. So you're really going to have to rely on Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert to carry this offense on Sunday. Do I think they can do it? Sure, but you're also going to need your offensive line to be much better than it has through 2 weeks of the season. And who knows if Teron Armstead's going to play. I don't even know who's playing at left guard. Robert Jones got benched/hurt in Week 2 against the Bills. You're still going to have that same center, right guard, right tackle combination, but that left side of the offensive line is a complete mystery at this point. We'll have to see, and we'll have updates throughout the week on the injury report and who ultimately will get the nod at left tackle and left guard for Miami. But these 5 right here you see on screen are going to have to come up huge if the Dolphins want to win and stay afloat over the next 4 games without Tua, because you're going to have to lean on them in the run game, as well as protecting Skylar Thompson or Tyler Huntley a little bit longer than Tua. You'd have to, because Tua is a much better processor and decision maker than the 2 quarterbacks you currently have on the roster. All right, I'll do it for today's episode. Make sure you do follow me over on Twitter at Nic_Rohloff, because you would have heard about the Tua news first if you didn't see it until this YouTube video over on my Twitter. And I tweet about the Dolphins every single day. News, rumors, memes, highlights. We got it all over there. So help me out. Go give me a follow on Twitter, and I promise you, you will not regret it. All right, that does it for our first segment here. Who should start, Tyler Huntley or Skylar Thompson? Question of the hour. Listen, Skylar Thompson is going to start Week 3 against the Seahawks. There's no question about that. But going forward, this is more of that question. If you had to guess, or let's not guess, give your opinion on who should start after this week. Because I think there is something very true about this. If Skylar Thompson goes out and wins this football game, the Dolphins could win 9-6. Mm-hmm. And Skylar Thompson will start because you won that game. But if the Dolphins lose, say 24-10, very reasonable score to lose by, and Skylar Thompson, the offense, struggles, well, then you have a serious question to make or decision to make for Week 4 against the Titans. What is your prediction?
I think Tyler Huntley will ultimately win this job. There's a reason that you brought him in. And listen, you kind of mentioned it, excuse me, with Skylar Thompson, he kind of has to be able to work in this Mike McDaniel's offense because he doesn't have any elite traits. He doesn't have the elite processing. He doesn't have an elite arm. He doesn't have anything that really kind of makes him stand out. So he kind of has to work in this offense. Now, that may work in his favor if he can somehow be a better quarterback in the next week or two. Or if he shows out this week, he really can, get it to Hill, get it to Waddle, get it to your playmakers out of the backfield. I think Tyler Huntley, though, is going to be somebody that the style of quarterback he is, and the style of offense that can work with Huntley. Now, yes, it might take it more than this week just to implement that, and that's probably another reason why it could be potentially later down the line. But Huntley can, sit there, really work on the run game, use the ability to have A-Chain, Mostert, and all that speed around him to kind of use that to his advantage in the, quick read option, kind of inside zone game. And I just think overall that you may, yes, not be able to have those deep passes down the field because that's not his game, but it's a winning formula. Time possession, keep the ball away from the opposing defense, run the ball. And the Dolphins have arguably the best running back room in the NFL. Use that strength, even lean in more into that with Tyler Huntley. I think that's a key to success, in my opinion.
Yep. Appreciate you calling there. I think I completely agree with everything you just said there. Can't dispute you whatsoever. I see JC saying Tyler Huntley, EH saying Thompson, Kristen Reinhart, a real one, saying Tyler Huntley, Raul saying Tyler Huntley, Michael saying Tyler Huntley, Alan saying Tyler Huntley, Sat Huntley, Marketh is saying Skylar Huntley. You know what? If Skylar Thompson had the mobility of Tyler Huntley, I'd be in. I still don't know if it would be a starting quarterback in the NFL because Thompson still isn't the best thrower of the football, but it is at least close to Tyler Huntley's ability. But Skylar just simply has more knowledge of the offense, knows what to expect, the cadences, and has been in practice and in the locker room with these guys, which just automatically makes him the top choice. So that's how it is. We get that, I assume so.
Yeah.
You messaged Coop?
Yeah, Coop's on it. He just told me he's on it. So.
Cool. All right, awesome. I forgot to make that weigh-in, which is not good on me. I'll move it over here in a second.
Okay, yeah.
Yep. Hashtag Dolphins or Super Chat.
Yeah. No worries, dude. Rolly basically was about to do this solo dolo today.
I was, man. I was. It's Grinder. I'm a Gruden Grinder, man. Speaking of Gruden Grinder, have you seen that he has a YouTube channel now?
I did not, but that is amazing.
You haven't heard us talk. So we've talked about it in the office a couple times. I watched his I don't know how long he's been making it. Studio I, correct?
Mm-hmm, yes.
I don't know how long he's been making YouTube content, but John Gruden did a preview of Bills Dolphins, and he is laugh out loud funny, breaking down these games. His analogies, his excitement. I love the fact that he's so into it, but it's just laugh out loud funny, in my opinion. Hilarious. All right, we are about to do a Dolphins mailbag. If you want to get on the show, use hashtag Dolphins. Ask me a question about a player, the team, Chris Grier, the matchup on Sunday, rumors, whatever you want to ask. Trade targets. Hashtag Dolphins to get on the show or Super Chat. If you do Super Chat, you jump to the front of the line and is guaranteed to be on the mailbag. Also, if you send in a $5 Super Chat, you'll get on our early access Week 3 MVP Dolphins football. So $5 gets you onto here, and if you put in a question, you'll get on the mailbag. We also have a couple questions from Chad Jones had a question. Joel Bowman had a question. I saw a couple other ones in the chat as well, if they're pulling, which hopefully they are.
Excuse me. Well, we got both those Super Chats. Those are definitely going to be in there. I see one other hashtag. So use hashtag Dolphins.
What's up, Barry B? Good to see you, brother.
Yeah. What up? I mean, it could be literally, whatever Dolphins. You want to know Rolly's score prediction. You want to know about a certain matchup.
Yeah.
Any kind of question.
We got to get at least 8 questions to start the mailbag. We have 3.
3. Yep.
So we need 5. Every noodle makes it 6. Or makes it 4 needed. Who is going to get their question, baby.
Noodles in.
Yeah, every noodle makes it 4 questions needed. Got a question about the Fins? Let me know. Yeah. I like doing mailbags because I feel like it allows us to connect with the audience more. Same with live shows. Not because think about this, when you're doing live radio, live TV, like you can't see your viewership, your viewers while you do the show. Now, some radio dudes call in, but not all. But in YouTube, we see the profile pictures. We see the usernames. We see what you have to say. It's cool. It's cool. JB with a $5 super chat. That makes it 4 more to go.
Well, he asked that question already as a hashtag. He sent it again as a super.
Okay.
He wanted to make sure his question got in there.
Then JB, we're still at 4. Shout out to you, JB, brother. Thank you, man.
Shout out. So that, JB, we see it. We're going to feature it on the mailbag.
JB's in.
So we got you, brother.
JB's in. Still need about 4 more questions. Come on, folks.
I mean, it could be about anything. It could be, Rolly's predictions for the rest of the Dolphins season. It could be, how does he feel about Mike McDaniel? I mean, it could be anything.
Interesting. We got some odd line shift in the Seahawks game.
Towards the Dolphins' favor?
Correct.
I would see that 6.5 seemed like it was way too.
So it opened at 6, then it went down to 5.5, and now the latest odds via DraftKings is down to 4.5.
See, that's more. I'd say anywhere from about 3.5 to about 5 is kind of that sweet spot for where I think the odds should be.
I think 4.5 is a good number.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
I think 4.5 is a good number.
Yeah.
Isaac, you got to use. I use hashtag correctly, but you got to make sure Dolphins is linked to it. Isaac. Sat gets a quarterback or gets a question in there. I have to think about that though. That's one where I have to really think about before I just answer. So give me a second here. Gavney. No, Gavney. My name's Nick. I know I look a lot like Jake Rietma, but. This is a different regime.
Spinning image.
The spinning image. I actually was talking to Jake Rietma today. He's moving soon.
Nice. Where's he moving?
He's moving to Morgantown, West Virginia. Why, you might ask? It's because his girlfriend / fiance, I don't know if they got engaged yet. He told me that was going to happen soon. I don't know if they have. She got a job as a sideline reporter for West Virginia. So, yeah. Thank you, Gavney. Just wanted to let you know, you're not talking to Jake Rietma.
That question, by the way, is definitely getting in just because it'll be funny.
Oh, it has to. It absolutely has to. I'm thinking of the Dolphins starting quarterbacks in their entire history.
Because obviously you have the main one.
Marino's 1-1 without a question.
You have, excuse me, Pennington. You have, trying to think of all the older ones.
You got Tannehill's up there.
Yeah.
Bob Greasy's up there.
Yeah, gotta give Greasy some love.
I think I would. Who do you think's better all time for the Dolphins? Tua or Ryan Tannehill?
I would slightly lean Tannehill. The only reason is because he's done it for longer, and I think Tua's success is. The fact that he's got up as high as he did, his peak was about higher than any Tannehill peak. But Tannehill did it with the Dolphins for a lot longer.
But here's my thing with Tannehill. He only made the playoffs once, and Tua's done in back-to-back seasons.
It's true.
Although he did not play in one of those playoff games. So maybe you think it's only one.
It's definitely debatable.
It's tough.
And some more.
We're getting a lot of questions, so I think we're going to be good.
Yeah,
I think we'll be good. Remember, $5 super chat gets you on our Week 3 MVP ball, as well as guarantees your question to be on the live show. Let's get that started. Coming up in just 1 second. All right, let's do this thing. We got a Miami Dolphins mailbag on today's episode of Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. I am your host, Nic Rohloff. Couple days away from Week 3, Seahawks Dolphins in Seattle, but I want to answer some questions from all the fans in the comment section. But before we get into that, though, make sure you are following us over on Instagram. At Dolphins Today IG is the handle. We're inching closer to 500 followers. We currently have 390. We put out daily content on our Instagram page separately from our YouTube page. And if you want to be covered on everything surrounding the Dolphins outside of YouTube and in between our videos, Instagram's the best place to do it. Let's get to 500 as soon as possible. 110 away. Counting on all the Dolphins fans to go follow us over on Instagram. We'll start with a question from JB. Shout out to you for the $5 super chat as well, my friend. Dolphins, how big will it be when these PUP and IR players will return week 5 with 2 out? Well, pretty big. And remember, there are a handful of players that are eligible to return in week 5. It is not a guarantee that they will. I want to make that abundantly clear. The players that are in question here: Odell Beckham Jr., who started on the PUP list. Bradley Chubb started on the PUP list. River Craycraft started on IR. Cam Smith started on IR. So they are all eligible to return in week 5 against the New England Patriots, but I'm not so sure everyone will. The reason why I say that is because you have a bye in week 6, which means if you just give them that one more week off, they can really have 6 weeks of healing and extra time of being out while only missing 5 games. And players that I specifically think that could happen to, Odell I think could. I think Bradley Chubb is. Remember, Bradley Chubb tore his ACL and MCL in the final 2 weeks of the regular season last year. So that's a pretty deep and long recovery time for Bradley Chubb. So giving him an extra week or two to make sure that knee is fully healthy and ready to go is probably the smartest move possible for the Dolphins. And I don't even know if he's going to be ready to return in week 5 if he wanted to, but I probably would hold him out 1 week anyway. When it comes to Cam Smith and River Craycraft, that one's interesting. I think Cam Smith is going to be able to return, who's on IR week 5, which will be a good boost to the depth that Miami needs at corner, as they've been having Ethan Bonner being active, with Storm Duck, Saran Neal being the depth pieces on the perimeter. And I think River Craycraft could return. We'll see. He had a pretty serious injury at the back end of the preseason, but we'll ultimately have to see. I do think, though, you'll get Cam Smith back without a question. Odell Beckham Jr., 50-50 right now for me personally. I think he could just return week 7, and then Bradley Chubb probably going to be a couple more weeks. Chad Jones with a $5 super chat. Shout out to Chad. Is sit Tua for the season? Sorry, but he is dangerously playing with his future as a parent. Listen, it's ultimately his decision. I've been very open about that. I do believe that if it was me, I would have probably retired. If I'm going to be honest, 3 concussions in the last 2 NFL seasons, 2 of them being pretty bad on Thursday Night Football, where you have kind of involuntary hand moments. They kind of call them the fencing position. I would have personally retired, but as Mike McDaniel pointed out, it's his decision. It's his life. He has to decide what he wants to do, and he is going to return this season at some point. He's placed on IR earlier this week, which means he is eligible to return week 8 against the Arizona Cardinals. We'll see if that's ultimately the case, but either way, that is when he is first eligible to play again for the Dolphins this season. Week 3 game, just a couple days away. Who you got winning this one? Type MIA for the Dolphins. Type SEA for the Seattle Seahawks. Joel Bowman with a $5 super chat. Do you think Malik Washington will be able to play this week with Grant DeBose looking terrible and Robbie Chosen gone? Yes, obviously Robbie Chosen, the wide receiver on the practice squad, is no longer on this team. He was released on Tuesday afternoon, and they added Jackson Carman to the practice squad, offensive lineman, who we broke down earlier in the week. Malik Washington is interesting, though, because to me, if he was going to be out for this game, they should have placed him on IR. Because, yes, you are only given 8 players to be placed on IR during a season and return, and right now they've used 3 with Tua, Cam Smith, and River Craycraft. Or do they count? I know Tua counts, but I actually don't know. I have to look into that if River Craycraft and Cam Smith counts because they were placed before the season began, and I know they opened up those 2 roster spots. Either way, if he was going to be out for 4 weeks, they should have just placed him on IR with that quad injury, but they didn't. So I do actually expect Malik Washington to potentially play in week 3 against the Seattle Seahawks, which they'll need because the wide receiver 3 for the Dolphins have been absolutely abysmal. You mentioned it. Braxton Berrios has been a no-show. Grant DeBose has been terrible. Robbie Chosen was horrific, and now he's off this roster. So they need someone to somewhat step up after Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and maybe it's the athletic and versatile slot wide receiver from Virginia that Chris Grier drafted in the 6th round from Malik Washington. I think it's possible, and I do think there's a better chance that he plays this week than he doesn't, so hopefully Malik's able to have a good rookie debut. We also sponsored by Prize Picks, and if you want to go place some cheddar on this Dolphins Seahawks game this Sunday, you can with Prize Picks because it is a lot of fun. It is the #1 daily fantasy sports app in North America with more than 5 million active members. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. And with 2 weekends left in September, you can take advantage of their special with Caleb Williams. 1 passing yard gets you 1 win on Prize Picks every week in September. That's right, only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. 2 weeks left of free W's, so take advantage. Don't miss out on this deal from Prize Picks because it's gone when September ends, and you could actually win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. We usually have an entry showing our weekly game in the football world between the Dolphins and whoever their opponent is, but I wanted to show you that you can do more than just that. You can go to the basketball world and do a season-long projection, or when it starts up in a month or so, you can do daily selections as well. Got more than on Bam Adebayo rebounds, more than on Jalen Brunson assists, and then less than on Zachary Sachet points. I think it's fun that you can really customize the way you play Prize Picks on a daily basis, and it's so easy to play. It's so quick, just a couple of buttons having to be selected, and you can potentially turn your knowledge of the sports world into some cold cash. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Appreciate them for sponsoring today's episode of Dolphins Today. That link will be in the description and comments of today's video. Let's move it over to Sat, who asks, where do you rank Tua upon all the Dolphins' past quarterbacks? Well, the Dolphins don't have the best history when it comes to quarterbacks. Obviously, #1 is going to be Mr. Dan the Man Marino. I would probably put Bob Greasy at #2 for the Fins, and then that's where it becomes a discussion where Tua could fall in here. Ryan Tannehill is probably up there for what he did in the early or the mid-2010s. Chad Pennington. Honestly, Chad Henne was kind of good for the Dolphins or in the late 2000s, early 2010s. And then Tua's right there. Like, I think Tua's a top 5 quarterback in Dolphins history. I know it's crazy, but think about this. He led the NFL in passing in 2023. I know he's had a lot of injuries, a lot of shortcomings in big moments, but to lead the NFL in passing, to lead the Dolphins and to back-to-back seasons of winning records with Mike McDaniel into the postseason, I'd probably put Tua in the top 5, and he's flirting right there with the Penningtons, the Tannehills, and the 3, 4, 5 range, if you're asking me. All right, make sure you are subscribed to the channel because we have daily Dolphins content, and we are live for every Dolphins football game, including this Week 3 matchup against the Seattle Seahawks, where we are matched up with them on the YouTube streets as well as the real gridiron. We are trailing by 12 subscribers in our Week 3 sub battle. Help us out, hit that sub button, and join the channel because we have daily Dolphins content. Gavin E. Owens. Hey, oh, goodness gracious. Gavin, I'm sorry to break it to you. I am not Jake Rietma. As good as my good old friend and pal here, Jake Rietma, was at the channel of Dolphins Today. And I know the similar is striking. We're both handsome guys with black hair and a good black beard going on. Shout out to Rietma. But I am Nic Rohloff. And Rietma's been gone for 4 or 5 months. But appreciate you tuning in with the question. When Tua returns, do you think Tua can win MVP this year? No. I made the bold prediction that Tua was going to win MVP this year because I said that if he leads the league in passing again, the Dolphins win the AFC East with a record of 12-5, 11-6, one of the best teams in the AFC, and he has a better interception to touchdown ratio as well as throwing 4,400 yards again this year. I think he was going to be in MVP consideration. Well, with him being out 4 weeks at minimum, he just won't be able to have the statistical output, and the Dolphins likely won't have a good enough record. So Tua potentially winning MVP, probably not going to happen. Ryan Noto, my guy with a question, rocking a beer. Is that a Tampa Bay Lightning shirt hat as well? Well, we root for the Panthers around here, but Ryan, still love you. Why do you think fans just one side of the coin with Bryce Young and not the overall circumstances of Carolina? It's a no-win situation from day one. I agree. Made a video earlier on in the week of why I think the Dolphins could inquire and should at least have a little bit of interest in Bryce Young. And I also made a short that I put on our Instagram page. Remember, go follow at Dolphins Today IG. And people start flaming me for thinking that the Dolphins should trade for Bryce Young. I think it's just a cheap contract, or not contract, cheap overall investment. You'd only have to probably send a conditional 4th-round pick potentially, to where if he plays a certain amount of games, has a certain amount of stats, that pick gets a 2nd or 3rd-round upgrade. But you'd only get him for 3 weeks, potentially 4. And I think he's quick. He's decisive with the football. And I just think he's lost confidence in Carolina between his teammates and the organization. And a fresh start is needed. He's drafted 1st overall, not even 2 drafts ago, in 2023. Like, the talent's obviously there. And I think he'd be able to run Mike McDaniel's offense pretty well. So I think I would take the chance on it, especially with how bad his situation has been in Carolina. All right, here's a quick question for you as we get into our Week 3 game against the Seahawks. What player on the Dolphins, or honestly, what person, you can even mention a coach if you want, needs to step up the most without Tua Tagovailoa? 4 games down against the Seahawks, Week 3, Titans Week 4, Patriots Week 5, Colts Week 7 with that Week 6 bye. What player needs to step up the most to make sure the Dolphins still win football games? Batman. Love Batman. Favorite superhero? Let me know yours down in the comment section as well, if you count him as a superhero. But either way, Batman. Love him. Should Miami draft a quarterback next year, say Cam Ward? It's certainly an intriguing hypothetical, right? I think you have to actually put in a better long-term solution or plan for Tua going forward. Next year will be the first year of his 4-year contract extension, but with how many type of injuries he's had, I think it's possible that one more concussion could actually be the end of his career. So you do have to have a plan. And I think the Dolphins will seriously look into drafting a quarterback this year. I don't think it will be in the 1st round, but say the 2nd round, say the 3rd round. I think they could make an investment at quarterback or sign a very high-valued backup guy, or maybe make a trade like the Steelers did for Justin Fields. Maybe it's Bryce Young for all that matters. Either way, getting a better backup quarterback, I think, is probably very much in the wings for Miami. Cam Ward's an intriguing name. I'd love to keep him in the 305 with how he's turned around that Hurricane team, but I think he'll be just ultimately drafted way too high. I think he'll ultimately be a 1st-round pick, maybe an early 2nd-round pick, and I think that will just exceed Miami's worth of putting value into that, considering you still do have Tua over 4 years. All right, that will do it for today's mailbag. Make sure you are following us on Instagram at Dolphins Today. IG is the handle. Like I said, content in between each of our videos over on our Instagram page. Go give us a follow. Let's get to 500 as soon as possible. All right. LJC says you posted a video while you're live. Yeah, wanted to get out that video for all the people that couldn't join our live show. So they're informed on the Dolphins news of Tua going on IR.
That's how we just work here at Dolphins Today.
That's how we roll.
That's how we do it. Also, he asked a good question, or at least a thought-provoking question. Do you think the Dolphins could possibly sign Cam?
No. He is so long retired. He is so long retired. I like Cam. He's a fun quarterback. But
he has great interviews, great podcast.
Yeah, but he is beyond Cooks, my friends. Unfortunately.
I was mainly asking that because I knew that would be your answer.
I love Cam though.
Yeah.
I mean, he was, I think, one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch growing up in the 2010s. I mean, he was just awesome. He was just awesome, baby.
What up, Time Man? What it do?
You want to give some shout-outs real quick or create a conversation? Because I've just got to tweet out that video we just put out.
Sure. Mias, yo, what's up? Rolly and also Cole and also Time Man the Buckeye.
Shout out to Time Man, man. Time Man, beast.
Any insight about Hendon Hooker? Heard about him, but don't know much. He really hasn't had much of an NFL career, obviously, because he came in after getting injured his last year at Tennessee. He's been with Detroit, excuse me, pretty much his entire time. Haven't seen a lot of him. Obviously, there was a lot of kind of hype with his arm talent and everything when he came out of the SEC, but
Tennessee.
Yeah, I said the SEC.
Yeah, I just wanted to say Tennessee.
Well, I already said Tennessee, so I mixed it up.
Oh, did you?
I did.
I thought you blanked on the Tennessee, and that's why you said SEC.
No. We're all
okay.
good.
You know, sorry to question
My
Mr.
bad, bro.
Cullen
My bad,
Brown's
brother.
knowledge.
My bad, bro.
Can't do that.
No. Trust me. We've done NBA Live together. You can.
Have
touch my
we?
knowledge. We have, yeah. Rolly, we've been through this before, man. It's not our first live show together. I know they're not.
That's certainly not. I feel like you did a Dolphins
Yep.
recently. Did you?
Not too long ago. There was another kind of late sub, and I stepped up to the plate. So.
Oh, I'm just catching wind of the Heat's 24-25 city jerseys leaking. What the
official?
fuck? Sorry for cussing. I don't know if it's official, but it feels like it's heading that way. It's just the Heat culture uniforms again in red.
So it's just inverse?
Yeah,
like red,
which is
black.
what they did with all the Vice stuff, too. How about you create some originality, Miami, and freaking switch it up with a different type of city uni? Also, the Heat culture jerseys, the Heat had a terrible record with them. They stunk.
Bad juju.
I'm sick of the Heat culture. I like the idea of the Heat culture being a thing, but not on the jerseys. Come on.
At that point, you're kind of like stretching it a little.
Also, let me know if you guys are also Heat fans, because I know not everyone is. It actually is a surprising amount of Dolphins fans are not Heat fans, vice versa as well, where Heat fans aren't Dolphins fans. You think mostly if you're like a fan of one of the teams in the city, you're going to be the other, but not the case here in Miami town.
If you polled, like if you were just to go out and poll like 100 random people in Miami and be like, hey, who's your like number one team? Do you think they would say Dolphins or do you think they would say Heat?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Just random people.
I think you're going to get more random Heat fans that will say Heat, but I think people care about the Dolphins more.
Interesting.
If that makes sense. I think
No,
more
it does.
people will say Heat because that's the better franchise out of the two.
Especially this century. Yeah.
No, just in general.
Yeah.
But I think the Dolphins fans would rather. I think the Dolphins and Heat fans, let's say, would much rather see a Dolphins Super Bowl than another Heat championship, without a question.
Yeah.
Even if you like the Heat more than the Dolphins, I think they would still rather see the Dolphins win because it just simply hasn't happened.
Yeah. They were back-to-back champs, right? Super Bowl 7 and 8.
You talking about the Heat?
No, the Dolphins. Super Bowl champs, brother.
What?
They were back. They were champs. What was it? I think Super Bowl 7 and 8. They were back-to-back champs, were they not? Am I tripping?
I think you're tripping, brother.
I might be. Super Bowl 7 and 8. I'm pretty sure.
Did they win it back to back?
I thought they did. I could be wrong. I could be talking out my butt right now. But what up, Milky? I could be wrong.
You are right.
Am I actually? Let's go.
Yes, you are. 72-73.
So
I just got confused of like.
yeah, 'cause
I
that's
guess I
what
didn't know it was Super Bowl 7 and 8.
Yeah. So it's because it was, it was Jake Scott, Larry Zonka, Super Bowl MVPs. They won back-to-back. It was right before the Steelers went back-to-back,
Okay.
9 and 10. Little history there from Cullen. So, yeah.
Good on you, man. I actually didn't know it was the Super Bowl 7 or 8.
Yeah, well, because when I made the comment, like especially in this millennium, you were like, no, always. And I'm like,
Well, I mean,
back
the Heat do have more though.
no, I'm saying, but like there was a period where at least the Dolphins won back-to-back Super Bowl champs. So there was a period where.
Oh, the Heat won back to back.
No, I know, but I'm saying like.
I
that
got
was-
you.
Yeah, you know. You just give me a hard time.
Yeah, I do for sure. I do. Axie, you're a Dodgers fan. I tell you what, Axie, you're lucky the Dodgers were able to win on Sunday and Monday against the Braves because the Dodgers are on my shit list right now. If you didn't know, I'm a Mets fan. My dad was born in Queens. I'm from New York. And my God, we're in the middle of a pennant race, and it's stressful every night. My balls were in my throat last night. I was stressed. Mets walked it off, though.
They did. That they did.
All right, let's get into the final segment here at Dolphins Today. I got 5 people, objects, nouns, adjectives that need to... See, I feel like this is very common, by the way. I've seen a couple people say Dolphins Heat fan, but not the Marlins. People do not care about the Marlins in Miami.
Well, to be honest, if you want to talk about an organization that has not been great, like, I don't know.
Shout out to the Miguel Cabrera days.
Dontrell Willis. That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Like, that is the only memorable Marlins like sports memory that I have that I can like pull from my brain.
Yeah.
It's sad. I'm not trying to take shots here. I mean, that's just not been a greatly run franchise.
Yeah. Orioles, interesting team. I think people have come around in the Florida Panthers, though. If you're going to root for a hockey team down in South Florida, you're going to go to the Panthers. Maybe some people go to the Lightning in Tampa, but I think most people go with Florida. I mean, Stanley Cup. Now, if you're going to jump on the bandwagon, might as well do it now.
Yeah, I mean, Kachuk is...
He's a stud, dude. The only downside about Kachuk is that he's best friends with Jason Tatum. Not good with that. But to be fair, so is Bam, and that kind of sucks, too. Oh, Kristen Reinhardt. She's from the Bay Area, so it's excused, but an Oakland A's fan. Oof, that's rough time.
The fact that you're able to say that in public.
No, I'll say this, though. The A's, they had a stretch there in the mid-2010s where they were. No, I know. Mid-2010s A's, dude, they made the playoffs like every year.
Have you seen Moneyball?
It's Starling Marte, now on the Mets. Yeah. All right, let's actually get into the final segment of the show. All right, welcome to Dolphins Today, and as we get closer and closer to the Dolphins' Week 3 matchup against the Seattle Seahawks, I have 5 players that need to step up to help the Dolphins while Tua is out. So this is for the game on Sunday against Seattle, but also for the 4 games that he will miss against the Titans, Seahawks, Patriots, and Colts after he was placed on injured reserve. But make sure you are following me over on Twitter because I'm tweeting about the Dolphins every day. And guess what? I'll follow you back if you follow me off of today's video. We're talking about news, rumors. You'll be the first to get all of the updates on Miami in terms of my Twitter. And then we'll come over and make a video. So give me a follow at Nic_Rohloff. The first person/people that need to step up is the offensive line. And listen, this could have been said with Tua, without Tua, but the offensive line needs to step up. And I chose Robert Jones as the face of that profile picture for an absolute reason. One, it's because he's been the worst offensive lineman on the team without a question. He got absolutely bullied against the Buffalo Bills and Ed Oliver on Thursday Night Football. He was atrocious. And he might actually be out for Week 3. That is unclear. Robert Jones was benched/injured in that game, and you saw Lester Cotton come in for the remainder of that football game. And Teron Armstead, who was banged up with an injury as well. He is day-to-day right now, and we'll see if he's going to be able to go on Sunday against the Seahawks. But you're going to need these guys to step up because you're going to have to rely on the run game much more now without Tua. Because Tua, at times, you can trust him to really just drop back and pick apart the defense, fire off. He didn't do it in the first 2 games of the season, but last year he did that quite a bit. And if you want to be able to stay afloat, beat the Patriots, beat the Titans, Colts, and Seahawks, with 3 of those teams have above-average defenses in Tennessee, Seattle, and New England, Indianapolis not so much, you're going to have to become more multidimensional on the offensive end, and it all starts with the offensive line being better in pass blocking, but also being a good run-blocking team as well. Let Devon Achane, let Raheem Mostert cook, and let them pace your offense. You're only going to need to score 20, 24 points a game. Not asking you to go drop 30, but can you get 3 touchdowns, at least in points? So can you get that 20 mark? Because if you can, I'm going to trust the defense to hold some of these opponents you got in the next 4 weeks to under 20 points. Number 2, Tyreek Hill. Listen, Tyreek, I think you're the best wide receiver in football. You were voted by the NFL Top 100, which is the entire NFL player database, as the best player in football. If you are going to be voted the number 1 player in football over the likes of Patrick Mahomes, over the likes of Josh Allen, of quarterbacks, then guess what? You're going to have to prove that. You are going to have to be the engine to this offense. And even though I said that I think they need to run the ball more and rely on Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane more, if you don't get the best 4 weeks of football of Tyreek Hill in a Dolphins uniform, you are not going to win a lot of football games. And going up against some tough secondaries. Got to go up against Devon Witherspoon and Tariq Woolen this Sunday. In Week 4, you got to go against L'Jarius Sneed and the Tennessee Titans. You got to go up against Jonathan Jones and Chris Gonzalez in Week 5 against the Patriots. Week 7, when you play the Colts, well, that one, you don't probably need him to go that off because that secondary isn't that good. But either way, you're going to need the wide receivers, not just Tyreek Hill, but also Jalen Waddle, to really take control. Yes, I believe this Dolphins offense will need to go to a more run-first scheme, but you also need Tyreek Hill to have a couple of these plays that just break the defense. And if the Dolphins can't really get Hill and Waddle going and the run game doesn't go anywhere, well, this Dolphins offense is really, really going to struggle. So Tyreek Hill, you were voted the number 1 player in the NFL this offseason by the NFL Top 100. You are going to need to be that and that guy that people see you as over the next 4 games for Miami, or they're not going to have a chance. Let me know who you think the player is, or you can say group 2. You can see the offensive line like me. Who needs to step up the most in the next 4 games without Tua Tagovailoa? Let me know down below. I'm going to go to Jalen Phillips, and although obviously Tua being out doesn't affect Jalen Phillips personally, he does need to show up, and it's just an overarching theme of this defense. Like, through 2 games, Phillips had the 1 big sack at the 4th quarter against Jacksonville. That's really it, though. I mean, yes, I know he's still returning from that torn Achilles, and he's been in 2 games, and is just happy that he's on the football field, but he hasn't been that effective through 8 quarters of the NFL season, other than that 1 sack. Him in this Dolphins pass rush is going to need to dominate. You are going to need to win these games over the next 4 games by your defense. If you get to 17 points in every game without Tua, I am going to call that a win. The defense simply has to dominate. And it starts with Jalen Phillips leading this Dolphins pass rush. You are one of the best edge rushers in the NFL when healthy. We've seen the burst. We've seen the power. Now, can you really wreck some games? Because all it takes is a couple plays to wreck a game. You know who does that quite a bit? Chris Jones and over in Kansas City. No, it's different positions and different alignments. But if you are able to really get after the pass rusher and disrupt the opposing offenses and get them off the football field and wreck their drives, well, it's only going to set you up for success on the offensive end as well. 2 more people that need to step up coming up here in just a second. But we are sponsored by Game Time, the number 1 way to get your tickets because they have the lowest price guaranteed and so many great features that allow you to have the easiest experience getting your tickets. And when I went to LSU USC in week 1 of the college football season in Las Vegas, I made sure to use Game Time to get my tickets, and well, I get my tickets on Game Time every single time. And their new feature called Game Time Picks, I'm a big fan of those. Makes getting your tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. There's also some other really cool features that allow you to get the best possible seat, all-in pricing. Make sure you know the price of your ticket when you're looking in the app, not getting blindsided at checkout. And they have the lowest price guaranteed. Seriously, if you find a different service on the ticketing world and their price in the same exact seat, same exact section, same exact row is cheaper, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. They are in the business of getting you the best seats, the lowest price guaranteed, even last-minute tickets as well. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. What time is it? It's game time. Appreciate them for sponsoring today's video. Devon Achane is another player that will absolutely need to step up for the Miami Dolphins. And it kind of goes hand in hand with the offensive line in our first group that need to step up. But I think you will need to lean on Devon Achane over the next 4 weeks. And I think it's very important that he stays healthy. And it was good to see earlier this week, before this week 3 game, that he said coming out of the Thursday Night Football game, he is pretty much fully healthy, didn't feel any soreness after that game, and is ready to go for this upcoming game against Seattle and beyond, because he has been your best player on offense through 2 weeks. There is simply no debating that whatsoever. We've talked about it quite a bit, but having 100 total purpose yards in each of the first 2 games, with 150 in week 2 against Buffalo, also having a score in each game. First one was a run, second one was a pass, having 7 receptions in both games. This is a player that will need to be the best player on the field. Now, you're hoping that Tyreek Hill will be able to create some big play opportunities for Miami as well, but Jalen Waddle, Achane, Tyreek Hill, those 3, big 3. Go to LeBron, Bosh, D-Wade days over in the basketball world of the Miami Heat. These three really need to run this offense and really control this team. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel because we are live for every Miami Dolphins football game, including the one coming up this Sunday against the Seattle Seahawks. It's a weird time, 4:05 Eastern time, not what we're accustomed to over in the 3:05. We will be live an hour before kickoff at 3 p.m., so make sure you subscribe and make sure you join us because I don't care who's playing quarterback. We will always be live for the Dolphins, rooting on our Fins. All right, the last person needs to step up. Gotta be your head coach, man. Mike McDaniel needs to be good. He needs to be great. And he's really going to have to hop in his Duffy. Louis Vuitton, Chanel, doesn't matter. He's going to have to cook for this Dolphins offense. Without Tua, teams are going to be able to throw more exotic looks at Skylar Thompson and Tyler Huntley potentially, and they will not be able to comprehend, process, and know where they have to go with the football, which is where Mike McDaniel has to step up. He needs to design plays that make it easier on Thompson, on Tyler Huntley. I think he's one of the best, if not the best, offensive minds in football. Well, he needs to combine that with elite play calling for this Dolphins offense to succeed on a daily basis and weekly basis with Tua out. Mike McDaniel, I'm calling on you to hop in that bag, script up plays to get Achane, Hill, Waddle, easy, open looks and let them do the grunt work after Skylar Thompson or Tyler Huntley gives them the ball. McDaniel, come on, kid. I believe in you. And who you got in this game on Sunday? MIA for the Dolphins, SEA for the Seahawks. Get your official votes in on who you think is going to win this Week 3 matchup between the 1-1 Dolphins and 2-0 Seahawks. Like I said off the top, make sure you are following me over on Twitter at Nic_Rohloff because I'm tweeting about the Dolphins every day. Highlights, news, rumors. You want to ask me a question? My Twitter is a good place to do that as well. I'm always open to DMs and answering them and answering the replies. So go follow me over there on Twitter. I promise you, you won't regret it. I'll see you tomorrow with another video. Go Fins. All right. Whew.
A lot to talk about there.
Lot to talk about. Lots to get to. Lots to get to. Oh, let's see how that video is doing that we highlight cut. Think good? Do we think good or bad, Colin?
I think good. I think you made a good call.
Yeah.
How good is the question?
I was gonna wait. It's gonna be a 7 or 8 of 10, but I mean they always are. It feels like unless it's like crazy news, it's always gonna be around that.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. Oh man. All right. Kind of recap the news on the day, and then we'll head out of here unless anyone has a super chat that wants to keep us going. But, man, Tua placed on IR. He's going to be missing the next 4 games, not 4 weeks games. So Week 3 against Seattle, Week 4 against the Titans, Week 5 against the Patriots, Week 6 bye. So Week 7 against the Colts is the last game that he'll be forced to miss. Potentially will be back for the home matchup against the Arizona Cardinals in Week 8, who many thought, and me too, that that game would have been easier. But that Cardinals team looks a little good, man. They gave Buffalo a run for their money. They absolutely waxed the Rams. Granted, no Puka Nacua, no offensive line, and then Cooper Kupp left that game with an injury as well. But
they're beat.
They either way, Cardinals
Sorry for cussing.
Easier or not as easy as a game as we thought. All right, we'll give it a minute. Any super chats come in, we'll stay live. If not, we'll head out of here on a Tuesday afternoon. And then see you live on Sunday.
Sounds good.
With videos in between, of course. But that's the next time you'll see me live.
Yeah. We always got you covered on the daily.
Yeah. Look at Cullen. Hands up on his head. You know why that is? Because he doesn't have to work. He doesn't have to do anything around here.
No. I honestly don't know why, to be honest.
Cullen literally does nothing.
Nothing.
I mean,
Like,
I'm up here scripting the shows. I'm building them. Cullen's just like, yeah, I'll take my time doing my work today,
It's true.
Listen, kid turned 29, right?
I did turn 29.
Turned 29 on Friday and said, you know what? I'm not working anymore. I'm retiring.
No, I'm retiring early, baby.
I'm retiring.
Oh,
I actually don't know if I've ever asked you this, but what were you doing before Chat Sports?
I did for sports, I did freelance work. So
Okay.
I was calling high school games, worked for Dave Campbell's, just like a Texas high school football company as an intern.
Okay. Is it now? You said were you calling them like you were actually on air? Okay.
I was, yeah. And then, for like a regular job, I was a salesman at a digital marketing company. So.
Okay. Salesman. I couldn't see you as a salesman.
Hated it. That was not for me.
I just don't know if I could see you as a salesman.
Believe it or not, did pretty well.
Ooh.
Did pretty well.
Cullen said I got something in the bag if I need to.
Here's the thing. Just glad I don't have to do that anymore. I can make my pitch when I need to.
You make your pitch when you see. I'm not a people person.
See, I find that hard to believe. You talk all that talk, but like every time you walk into a room, you seem to be very engaging with people.
Well, it's because people want to talk to me.
That's true. How can I forget that?
Yeah,
Clearly.
Yeah,
Everyone wants to talk to Nic Rohloff.
There's a difference. I don't want to talk to people. People want to talk to me.
That's 101 right there, Nic Rohloff.
But seriously, like if I was a salesman or something like that, I feel like I would not have good sales because I'm not good at going up to random people I don't know and just sparking conversation.
Just basic stuff, man. Hey, how are you doing?
Not tough. Too hard for me.
It's literally the easiest.
Too hard for me. I'll stick to handing in a little room with Cullen Brown looking at a camera. I'll stick to that. Another thing I don't think I could do, real estate. I don't think I could do real estate.
No, yeah. Because I'd be too honest. I'd be like this, by the way, the foundation's effed. The bathroom's kind of small. Yeah, I could. Because the idea is to sell it. It's like, no.
If I ever had to find a new job, I'm just going to go work at a golf course. That's one thing I know. Golf.
I could see you.
I'd actually be a caddy. I swear to God, I would do everything in my power to become a full-time caddy. I don't know how that's possible. I don't know what the payout is over there if you're not on the PGA Tour, but I would try my hardest.
Yeah.
Might do that anyway.
Honestly, like
it's my last.
You made the joke about me retiring. Like you retiring, I 100% see you on the golf course. Like you would buy your own golf cart.
If I could.
And you will. He jokes and all that stuff. He'll retire in like 5 years.
Me?
Yeah. You're an early retire. Easy.
If I could, I would. I'll be blatantly honest with you guys. If I won the lottery tomorrow and pulled up, I got 500 mil, y'all wouldn't see me again. I swear to God. I'd feel bad for leaving the Dolphins fans. Maybe I would hang out for the rest of the season. But like, if I won the lottery, swear to God, tomorrow, got 500 mil, I'm out. See ya. And I honestly, half the people at Chat Sports wouldn't see me ever again. I would just go off the face of the earth and do my own thing.
I mean, that's kind of the point, right, with 500 mil? Because, I mean, at that point, you don't want to be seen.
Yeah,
if
right.
you have that kind of money.
I'll be hiding.
That's smart.
Y'all will not see me. Well, y'all see me at the games, though, because I'll have season tickets.
Yeah. And apparently at the gas station buying lotto tickets.
Well, I wouldn't do it anymore. You hit
I'm saying, you might see them tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, someone in Texas won the
big one.
The big one, but it was in Houston, so I didn't have to be upset that I didn't go buy a ticket. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode. Appreciate everyone who came in and hung out with us here on this Tuesday afternoon. Like I said, see you live on Sunday for Dolphins Seahawks Week 3, but we'll have you covered with updates, news, rumors leading up to the game. Preview tomorrow, and as well as some other videos coming out too. So make sure you hit that sub button and see you over there.